In 4 seconds, silence can make you seem weak or dangerously in control. This test reveals which one you are. Did that feel uncomfortable? Good. That's power. Why do the loudest people rarely have the most power? Because real power doesn't need to shout. It watches. It listens. It waits. Machiavelli, the ruthless mind behind The Prince, believed silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. When you speak less, you reveal less. When others speak more, they reveal everything. And in that space between what's said and unsaid, power is born. In this video, we're not just going to talk about silence. We're going to weaponize it. Stay with me. And you'll discover why staying quiet isn't passive. It's psychological warfare, and how the quietest person in the room often controls the room. Silence isn't empty. It's pressure. And our brains, they hate it. Psychology shows that silence in conversation triggers discomfort, anxiety, and self-doubt. In one study, even 4 seconds of silence during a conversation made people rate the speaker as awkward or less competent. But here's the twist. The silent person wasn't actually weak. They were in control. Why? Because silence forces others to fill the gap. When you pause, people lean in. When you don't respond, they reveal more. When you observe, you start to see what's real. This is what Machiavelli understood. Centuries before modern psychology, silence creates psychological dominance. People rush to explain themselves. They become uncomfortable. They try to win your approval, and the one who speaks less learns more. That's not a coincidence. That's power. To understand why Machiavelli trusted silence more than words, you need to understand his world. He wasn't born into power. He wasn't a king or general. He was a thinker in a time of violence, lies, and betrayal. Hundreds. Italy was dangerous. One wrong word could get you killed. Friends turned into enemies. Promises meant nothing, and those in power played dirty. Machiavelli saw it all. He worked as a diplomat, sitting in rooms with popes, princes, and warmongers. He watched how power was gained and how quickly it was lost. And the one lesson he learned: the loud die fast, the quiet stay alive. He saw that those who spoke too much gave away their plans. They exposed their weakness. They made enemies without even knowing it. But those who stayed silent, they became unpredictable, mysterious, powerful. That's why Machiavelli didn't just like silence. He believed it was necessary for survival. In The Prince, he didn't say, "Be kind" or "Be honest." He said, "Be careful, be silent, watch everything, say little." Because in a world of chaos, silence is the only shield no one can see. Machiavelli's world may feel distant, but the strategy of silence, it's more alive now than ever. In modern psychology, they call it strategic silence. In business, it's called a power move. In life, it's how leaders are made. Let's take a meeting room. Everyone's talking, pitching, interrupting. But there's always one person sitting back, listening, not speaking unless needed. You know what happens? When that person finally speaks, everyone listens, not because they talk loud, but because they talk less. That silence built tension, respect, authority. In politics, it's the same. Look at the most influential leaders, the ones who hold eye contact and pause before they speak, the ones who never rush to respond. They seem wise, even if they say very little. Why? Because silence gives your words weight. It's the opposite of noise. It's power wrapped in patience. Even in your personal life, silence can shift the dynamic. When someone's angry and shouting, and you don't respond, they lose power. They feel unsure. They start to doubt themselves. Machiavelli understood this before microphones and boardrooms even existed. He saw how the loud were usually desperate, and how the silent were calculating. Silence lets people underestimate you. They think you have nothing to say, but you're actually learning. Just every word they speak reveals more about them than they realize. And when you finally speak, it's not emotion, it's precision. Think of it like a sniper. One bullet, one shot, not a machine gun of words. That's how strategic silence works. It's not just about staying quiet, it's about knowing when to speak and when not to, because the one who controls the conversation isn't the one talking the most, it's the one everyone is waiting on. Silence isn't just something you do, it's a mindset, and Machiavelli didn't stay quiet because he was shy. He stayed quiet because he was dangerous. So, how do you build that kind of silent power? Start with this. Speak last. In any room, let others speak first. Let them show their hand, reveal their thoughts, their fears. Machiavelli believed that when you speak too early, you expose yourself. But when you speak last, your words carry finality. Observe more than you react. People show who they are when they're emotional. Machiavelli knew that if you let others get emotional and you stay calm, you win. Why? Because emotion is loud. But power is controlled. Use silence as a response. Someone insults. You pause. Someone pressures you. Stay still. You don't have to reply to everything. Machiavelli once said, "A prince must learn how not to be good." That means stop pleasing. Start calculating. Don't speak to be liked. Speak to be remembered. Machiavelli believed people are driven by self-interest. So when you speak, speak with purpose, not for approval. Silence helps you remove the need to impress. You speak when it matters, and that makes your words powerful. Control the tension. Silence creates tension, but tension isn't bad. It makes people lean in. Machiavelli thrived in political tension because he understood something most people miss when people are uncomfortable. They reveal the truth, and the quiet one, the observer, walks away with everything they need. This is how silence becomes power, not by muting yourself, but by becoming impossible to read, impossible to provoke, impossible to predict. Machiavelli didn't survive in a peaceful world. He thrived in chaos, and his silence wasn't weakness. It was a weapon, aimed at those who underestimated him. You don't need to raise your voice, you just need to own your silence. And let others drown in their noise. Silence is powerful, but let's be honest, most people will never use it, even after hearing everything you've just learned. Even knowing it gives them control, respect, and insight, most people will still speak too soon. They'll rush to defend themselves, argue over small things, share too much. Why? Because silence feels uncomfortable, not for the person listening, but for the person holding it. We're wired to fear being misunderstood. We want to be liked, we want to be heard, and the silence, it feels like we're disappearing, like we're losing ground. But here's the twist Machiavelli understood. The one who feels the pressure the least holds the power. Most people speak just to fill the void. But the void is where real power hides. Machiavelli didn't write, "The Prince for the average person. He wrote it for the calculated, the bold, the ones willing to think 10 steps ahead. He knew this truth. People will always admire those who appear strong, even if they stay silent. That's why silence isn't popular. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't give you the quick rush of being seen, but it gives you something better: influence. Most people won't learn this because they're too focused on reaction, not reflection, but not you. You're still here, not because this is entertaining, but because it's true, and deep down, you know you've given away too much, too often, too fast. But that ends now, because silence isn't just about being quiet. It's about being in control. It's about letting others reveal themselves. While you remain unreadable, it's about replacing reaction with patience, emotion with strategy, and noise with presence. Most people won't do this, but the ones who do, they'll be remembered not for how loud they were, but for how powerful they became when they said nothing at all. Think back. How many times have you spoken and regretted it, said something too soon, revealed something too personal? Try to impress someone who never deserved it. We've all done it because we've been taught that being heard is the same as being respected, but it's not. Silence teaches you something louder than any voice ever could. You don't need to prove anything. That's what Machiavelli mastered, not just politics, but the psychology of power. He knew the world doesn't reward the loud, it rewards the strategic, those who think before they speak, those who wait before they move, those who observe, not out of fear, but out of precision. So when you walk into a room next time, don't rush to speak. When someone challenges you, don't rush to respond. When the world pulls at your attention, don't always give it. Instead, watch, listen, learn. And when you do speak, let it be unforgettable, because real power doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly and leaves an impact that echoes. Machiavelli gave you the blueprint. The rest, that's on you. Most people will keep talking, but the ones who rule the room are the ones who mastered the art of saying less and becoming so much more. And if this message found you at the right time, maybe you were never meant to blend in with the noise. So the next time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself, what power could I gain by staying silent?